Hi, we're in the sacristy at St. Michael Judge Old Catholic Church in Dallas, and that's Bishop Thomas Hooker. And this is going to be a very brief lesson in preparing for Mass, vesting for Mass, putting vestments on. What he's wearing right now is an alb. Alb comes from the same word as our word albino. It's Latin that means white, and it's a floor-length white garment that is worn. The first thing you put on is a cassock. On top of that is an alb, and that's the bottom two vestments for use at Mass. The next thing he's going to show us how to put on is the girdle or cincture, and that is usually a rope type cincture, normally but not always with tassels on the end. You want to describe what you're doing?
First of all, the rope is held right in the middle so that the two tassels are even, because that's how it's going to go around the waist. And as a priest, I'm going to have mine, or a bishop, I'm going to have mine in the front center. An acolyte would have theirs on the side if they're wearing an alb, because theirs would go over on the side. I bring the two ends of the rope through the loop. That's the first place. The rope's going to be even all the way around, so it's going to be the same direction. The way I do mine is I will do a loop knot on each side to secure the cincture at my waist. And then, because as a priest or a bishop, I'm also going to be wearing a stole. For a priest, the stole is going to be crossed. For a bishop, it's going to be straight. But by doing open loop knots on each side, that's where the stole will go. If it's going to be for a priest, it'll be crossed. If it's going to be for a bishop, it'll be going straight down. And that will go through these loops. They're not tightened, but that just keeps them in place.
It's Bishop Wynn, and I'm going to just show you, I'm wearing a cassock, not an alb. The reason I'm doing that is because of the contrast it shows. What I'm going to show you is the other way of tying a cincture. So you have, that's the middle part of the cincture right there. You have the two ends on the right. Okay? The two ends go right between there in the middle, and you pull it up closer. Okay? Then you reach around through it, create a little loop just like that, and drop the ends down like that. And at that point it's tied. You put the stole on, and then you finish it like this.
Okay, when the priest is putting on the stole, if it happens to be a deacon, their stole is going to be collected, but it'll be over the shoulder in this direction. Before putting it on, I always kiss the cross or the back center, because I'm putting on the stole that actually has the energy in it through which I'm working as an agent of God. For a priest, the stole would be crossed
right over left,
and then each side would go through the loops that I have here that I showed you a minute ago, also that Bishop Wynn had showed you. As a bishop, mine goes straight down, and they go into the two sides. One of the reasons for having the extra material is that I can then bring it up a little bit if it happens to be, just to keep the stole from moving too much. When you see the fiddleback chasuble, you'll see that there's extra material on the inside that I get to play with. So this would be the procedure for the stole. There is also the maniple, which in some churches is still used, in some is not. This is worn by the priest during the Eucharist, and most of them will have an elastic band on. This is done in the same color as the color for the season, and we're using green, so you can pretend like it's anything after Trinity.
The older maniples would have a buttonhole, and then there would be a button on the left arm, forearm of the alb to button it. You do not wear a maniple in procession. You don't wear it doing the homily. You only wear a maniple when you're saying Mass and you're at the altar. Otherwise, it's either in the church waiting for you, or it's carried elsewhere or stored elsewhere.
And how about if I do the...
You want to do the dalmatic? There's two garments. One is worn by a subdeacon. It's called a tunicle. And what Bishop Thomas is going to be showing is not a tunicle, but I'll tell you the difference and how you can spot it. You can just hold it up. I don't think you have to put it on.
Okay.
This is a dalmatic. It's to be worn by a deacon. And by the way, it's supposed to be an undergarment worn by all bishops. That said, I don't know a single bishop that wears a dalmatic. The way you can tell the difference is that the dalmatic has stripes that looks like an uppercase H. Hold it out. There you go. An H with two horizontal lines on it. See the bottom one there, and then a top one. The tunicle would either be plain, or it would have one horizontal stripe going across the chest. The dalmatic would have two. Now there's really three different kinds of chasubles, which is next. Bishop Thomas is going to be showing you the Gothic style chasuble that's rounded at the bottom.
It's kind of like a poncho.
It's kind of like a poncho. Hey, that's very good.
Actually, that's what it comes from.
The one we're not going to show you is very similar to this Gothic. It's called a monastic. And the only difference is the bottom of the chasuble is chopped off square. So it would be horizontal, not rounded. As you can see, this is a rounded Gothic chasuble.
And in this case, the stole matches the chasuble, and the same thing will happen on the fiddleback chasuble that I'll show you.
That has a rolled collar on the chasuble. And the rule is, if you have a collar on the chasuble, you do not have to wear an amice. Bishop Thomas is going to next show us the Roman or fiddleback chasuble, which does not have a collar on it. None of the fiddlebacks have a collar, so he should be wearing an amice. Let's see if he does.
But I'm not going to go back and take off my alb.
He's not going to take
put
the
on
alb
an
off.
amice.
So he's going to be out of uniform,
Yes.
dressed improperly, and there'll be a burning at the stake.
Well, I do have the amice from the Roman monastery that I bought for my ordination, so let me go get it.
Dum, da, dum, da, dum, da, 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 da. He's going to be showing us an amice.
Yes.
He's probably not going to put it. When you use the amice, it's supposed to be right on top of the cassock, so underneath the alb.
And I'm not wearing my cassock, although normally I will on Sundays. But the amice this is one that I had purchased from a convent that I found on eBay, and so it actually has the cross for the collar. But when putting on an amice, it started off like a hood. So it begins by going over the head as I'm dedicating myself to the work of Christ, and then it's dropped over the shoulders. The cords actually go around, they cross under the arms, go around the waist, and then are tied at the front. This would be under the alb.
So again, the rule is if the chasuble does not have a collar, you're supposed to wear an amice. And because of that rule, by the way, we only buy Gothic chasubles that have collars. Now, because he's a bishop, the stole is not crossed. If he were a priest, it would be crossed in front with the right part on top of the left part.
So this is done this way for the beginning. The fiddleback chasuble has, this is kind of like the tapes from an amice for the chasuble itself. So it's actually,
it's bigger in the back than the front. The chasuble is. This is called a Roman chasuble, or sometimes called a fiddleback, because it
looks like
the front is actually tapered like a fiddle.
And this is tied by the priest or the bishop. The tape, like I said, is just like the amice. It goes around the waist and then is tied with a bow. And if you happen to not be able to tie a bow, then you just do the best you can and hope you don't trip on it during service, which I've also done. And then the last thing that goes on
For a bishop.
would be my cross. And again, as Bishop Wynn had said, it's done on a green and gold cord.
Regardless of the vestment color, it's always
Right.
green and gold.
Always green and gold. And then the zucchetta, which I would wear up until we get ready to do the consecration of the host. Then that comes off. It goes back on after the Mass is completed, before the end of the service.
The other piece for bishops is what's called sandals. And they're not sandals at all. They look more like deck shoes, and they are of the liturgical color, so you would have green ones or red ones. And those sandals are worn at Mass only. Any questions? No. Good.
Okay.
Thanks. Bye.